Welcome back after the break. We are now going to explore the question of regulation in the media, whether the watchdog is now in need of policing itself. Vipulji, what in your opinion ails the media today?
I think lots of things are going on. Suddenly there is an explosion of media in India. Everywhere you see, go to any language area and you see their own papers coming up. I mean, so much so that in the last 10-15 years in certain languages, the number of copies of print which have increased are in the range of 230%, 260%, 300%. So there is an explosion. On the other hand, there is also a situation where questions are being raised about the credibility of the media, which is very strange. Because if more people are wanting to read newspapers, then why are there questions about their ethics or their credibility? So obviously there is something going on in India where people are beginning to ask questions about the media. And I would say, whole lot of things, when it comes to terrorism or when it comes to development or when it comes to defining certain ways of development as like a foregone conclusion, then I think media is like seen as a culprit.
Vipul, you yourself were a journalist before you came into advocacy. What were your compulsions to enter this field?
No, I came to journalism because of I was completely kind of besotted, and I thought it was very romantic to be a journalist, and I was very happy to be a journalist at a time when things were happening. I was a reporter in Kashmir, I was a reporter in Punjab, I've reported events of violence abroad, I worked in
You think that has changed? People come into media for different reasons now?
That's not true. I think a lot of people, a very large number of people, in fact, when I was in Hindustan Times in my last job, I was meeting a lot of young people as resident editor or as a senior editor, recruiting them. And I was very pleasantly surprised to see that people come with a lot of idealism and they want to still believe that they are going to change the world and things like that. So I think journalism as a profession still remains a very noble profession. Something is going on at the level of the profits or people are not happy with small profits. The companies are getting listed and they want like 3,000% profit. That is the problem.
For a long time we understood the media as the watchdog of society and everyone else, and now we've come at a time when we need a watchdog for the watchdog.
I think that's a good question. You see, the point is that democracy is also going through a very different kind of crisis. Government is actually retreating from many areas of decision making, policy making. Many areas are being cleared out for the, say, public-private partnership. And when I was a child, government was the only agency which used to build roads. Now there are private companies which are doing it. So on the one hand, the government is retreating, and on the other hand, the regulatory role of the government is increasing. So if government is regulator, which is defining the bounds of behavior for anybody, if you are a property dealer or if you are a builder, there should be some bounds of behavior for you. In the same way, there should be some kind of a regulation for media, but not necessarily a government regulation. Maybe a regulation run by the citizens.
Why do you think there was a need to critique the press? Because the press is the watchdog for everyone else in society.
I would rather not say watchdog or watchman. I'm a little averse to those terms. I don't think anyone can or should take on that mantle. Everybody does their job to the best of their ability, and in so doing, you create, a collective conscience kind of makes sure things go right. And in our country, there was no culture of questioning the press or the media. I mean, in the sense that if there is any big scandal involving the media house,
right,
it will not be covered by other media, because there is this, we don't take names. In fact, I remember once on a debate, Barkha had said that a channel has covered this issue in this way, we will not take names. Why not? I'm not saying one has to fight, but it can just be an honest, without any venom or without any anger, without any combat,
right,
just a criticism that, Times now covers it like this, which we find distasteful. We are boring and we are center of the road. They have a right-wing slant.
I think that the media is a weird beast, a strange beast. Its market compulsion is only one of its compulsions. There are times and ways in which stories that are not acceptable suddenly become big stories for the same media. And one has to realize that we live in an age of information warfare, where people are fighting for their information to gain prominence. And mainstream media, social media, alternative media, everything is to be used in ways to manage this media to get your own word out. And those who feel concerned about social issues cannot simply say, oh, the media doesn't cover it.
So do you like the fact that the media is an uncontrollable beast, or would you like some sort of control?
What I like about the Indian media is its multiplicity, the fact that there are so many avenues, the fact that if the media wants to kill a story, it just has to come out in one place and then everybody is forced to give it notice. The Radia tapes, for instance, when they came out initially, nobody was willing to acknowledge them. But since they were big on social media, and beginning with the Hindu and CNN, IB, and they just started giving prominence to Radia tapes, eventually everybody had to talk about it.
The spate of criticism of the media following the exposés of the Radia tapes in 2010 and more recently the Indian Express story about an attempted coup by the army did considerably dent its image. This should have made the fraternity look deep within. But the sense prevailing outside the influential and powerful circle of media houses is that not much introspection has followed this decline in credibility.
Well, for some years now, because the criticism of media, especially TV news, has become so much that the media has been faking a certain introspection a bit too much.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
It's a fake orgasm of introspection where you have full-fledged half-an-hour TV shows discussing the media, but all of that is very superficial discussion, as again the Radia tapes showed. The real problem with media is not just market compulsion, but also the fact that journalists are involved in their vested interests, in their own link-ups with business houses, in their own political affiliations, and all of that. Media introspection is more than introspection. What is needed is media taking on its own.
Does this imply that the media is often a victim of the very same protectionist and defensive positions that it accuses, on whom it shines the spotlight of its nearly always negative attention?
It is, I think, a cultural thing in our country where a certain strata looks out for itself, each other, even if they may not like it. Politicians do that, they protect others, they cling together. Like if you have any law that is going to challenge politicians across the board, they will come together. Bureaucrats protect each other. So similarly, it's a cultural thing, and I think it needs to break.
The good thing is that the media is not a monolith, and that more than anything else, irreverence is a highly appreciated trait.
It's a wholly, I don't know what, not a cow. It's a wholly very aggressive bull. You know, one of the problems has been that when any media organization gets a story about somebody else in the media, it does get suppressed because there is a certain level of baradri. You don't want to be reporting negative stuff on your peers. And that is why the Neera Radia tapes were suppressed for almost 9 months. It was all over in the online space, but no major news organization, television or print, covered it until Open and Outlook came out with it. So it took a long time for the media to even bring that story out. So yes, everybody has skeletons in their closet and nobody wants to expose the other in case the favor is returned.
The media in India is at best a work in progress, meaning it is an institution that's trying hard to keep up with the changing times. And only time will tell us where the future of the media lies.
think internet is a very egalitarian kind of space. It allows everybody to not only view things differently, but also to give their feedback. So it's very, very interactive, and it's giving a run for their money to all the newspapers. So as a new and developing field, I think it's something to watch. It is not yet emerged as a challenge to big media, but at the same time, it is beginning to give a challenge to them. And I believe that all the newspapers are running their own blogs and their own websites, etc. But at the same time, they are no match to the alternative forums which are coming up on the internet. So I think this is the way in which people connect with each other is changing, and I think that's for the good.
I'm no astrologer, but I think as I see the changes in the last 30 years, I think it is the biggest change in our country. The biggest change. It's the biggest revolution. Starting in up till the 80s, where only Doordarshan was a channel, jumping to more than 500 channels, large part of them news channels, regional channels. I think some of the regional channels are the most effective and the most free, in fact. The changes are phenomenal and wonderful, but at the same time, as I said before, there's a lot of irresponsibility. I mean, this sort of mad chase for TRPs, which again are questionable. I don't accept the TRP system. It's a very strange system which is not accountable to anyone, put up by some private organization. We don't know how it functions. And they claim that the strangest channels and the strangest stories are successful, whereas the same audience is watching Bombay films, Bollywood films, Mumbai films, and the tastes have changed because
for films it's very easy to judge. It's by the ticket
exactly
sales.
But you see, that's no, but that's the point, that you see, if the same public is now rejecting big bonanza films and going for the smaller regional type of exposing small stories, the public is saying yes to those, then how is it that the same public is saying yes to rubbish on television? It doesn't match. There are questions there. So I think that I don't accept the TRPs for the way they are done, the way they're conducted, and there's no transparency. We don't know how it's happening. And I think in their desperation, because a lot of channels are losing money, they're going more for the vulgar, innuendo, bhoot, pret, jadoo, all that going on, astrology. I don't buy that. I really don't buy that. I think, as you would see, that a lot of people are now turning to Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha TV because of that, because there's a seriousness to it, and I think people they do have the patience to listen. They want to listen to people who are allowed to finish their sentences.
I think wherever there are advertising constraints, despite things like Google ads, which do not have these constraints, but they will come, or they are coming in one way or another. They will be, even on the web, there will be websites and forums which target particular audiences. What is supposed to happen with the internet is that you can target smaller niches even more than TV. So on TV you already have lifestyle channels which have very low viewership but high advertising, because it is considered that they are seen by the rich who want those lifestyles and those foreign holidays. Now web can do that even more effectively. You have a site on cats, you have a site on dogs. So the web completely changes the idea and definition of the advertising formula.
The jury may still be out on that. But till we have better ethics and guidelines in place, there is always a chance of the media slipping from its high perch of moral authority. With that, we come to the end of our episode, where we try to answer some of the questions surrounding the role of the media in our lives today. We hope the journey across a spectrum of opinions was as enlightening for you as it was for us. So, until next time, this is your host, Neeraj Singh, saying thanks for watching and goodbye.